All right.
Okay, so peace. Yo, can you please introduce yourself to people who do not know you out there or know you want to still hear the name?
Yo, my people, what it is, what it do, what it be. It's creating energy beyond the ordinary. That's an acronym for CEBO. That's your boy right here, Cebo. Next generation dance fusion, motivated on precision towards outstanding performance is what we do. Mop Top is who we are. Shout out to the ladies of Hip Hop Festival, and then shout out to my man Gary for having me in the house today. Y'all ready to get into this? Let's go.
Yes, 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 yes. Brother, I'm very honored to have you to talk to you, man. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just get it in, man. Give us a little bit of something about yourself, man. Where you from originally? Where your origins?
Oh, this is about to be real, and I'm gonna try to make it as quick as I possibly can because
Yeah.
I don't want to take up all the time on my backstory. Because to be totally honest with you, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant but relevant, meaning you need to know where I am or where I come from in order to understand the points of views that I have. My family is from Antigua. I was born in St. Thomas, which is how we have the American citizenship because Antigua is owned by the British. I came to the United States in 1980, was when my feet first hit the United States. We lived in the Bronx in my grandmother's house. She lived and died in the Bronx. We then moved from the Bronx to Far Rockaway, from Far Rockaway to Brooklyn, from Brooklyn to Jersey City, from Jersey City to East Orange to Irvington, and then from Irvington, I went back to Brooklyn. And then from...
What the hell? I was just talking about you.
Yeah, you called me earlier this week. Sorry I couldn't call you back. Sorry.
That's no stress. I said Cebo was the only one that could joke around with you like he was doing.
So, you know, Ejo, everybody, y'all already know. From Brooklyn to Japan, and Japan back to Brooklyn, and then back to Jersey again. Let me give y'all a little backstory on how Garrett and I know each other but don't know each other. In New Jersey.
Well, and for those who don't know, I gotta pause. Garrett on Facebook, born as moniker born. But go ahead. Garrett is good. Garrett is good.
Okay. So in Jersey, there are some staple clubs that are very much a part of this house and hip hop scene. Club 88, Club Sensations, Zanzibar. I first came upon Born at the Zeke, is what we called it. And so you guys know how these things go. Outside of New York City, most clubs close around 2 a.m. Outside of the city. Last call is like 1 something, and then it shut doors around 2 o'clock. The Zeke was probably one of the only places that would go until like maybe 4, 5 in the morning. And then again, if you're outside of the New York metropolitan area, there is no sort of public transportation at that time. So what we would do when we finished at the Zeke was we would walk to a place called Penn Station, and we would hang out at Penn Station. Now, again, Penn Station is direct hub to getting into the city. So we would go to the Penn Station, jump on the path, go in the city, hang out in the city for like an hour, 2, 3 hours until the buses started, head back to Jersey, part ways, go on, see each other again on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that was the running thing to do.
And it's so amazing because that PATH train don't get off on Christopher Street. But
not then. Then you did not want to get off at Christopher Street.
Don't get off on Christopher Street, but please get off on the next stop and you're in the village, baby.
So if you're from this tri-state area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so we would get off at 9th, walk up 9th to Union, to Washington Square Park, hang out in the park. And this is where we would meet all the other dancers from in the city who were coming from either Union Square or coming from Zone or coming from wherever. And that's how we know each other. We're talking, late 89, 90, 91, around that time.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yo, yeah,
And
man.
at that time, believe it or not, there wasn't a lot of this word house being thrown around. We were just
Club heads. Yo, somebody called me that the other week. I mean, last week it was Brian Polite, and I almost busted a gasket. I was like, oh man, I ain't been called that. I got all excited, you know. I ain't been called that in so long. Clubhead.
Yeah. That term house, again, wasn't, and again, we're talking like 89, 88, 89, 90. It still wasn't even like a thing then. You would go to the club, and then I worked at a record store called Scratch Records. And you would go into the record store, and they had a thing that said club music. Like it wasn't a thing yet. You know what I mean? And I'm saying this to you guys so you can understand where this is about to go, because this term of club versus house is two totally different things in our world. Right? For a lot of the people who started this or from that generation, they understand it. Like if you hear house now, you immediately think of this, but that's not what we were thinking of. We were thinking of specifically music, not dance.
Yeah. Because you know, with the poppers and the lockers, like I'm like, yo, that's house music, as far as I'm concerned. Poppers, lockers don't get it. You know, in the battle community, I'm just referencing the battle community. They don't get it, man. I'll be like, yo, that song right there, yo, I done heard that in that. To me, that's house music, if you want to know. And it's like they don't really relate like that. They have to have it separate and categorized, divided up.
I wouldn't say that it needs to be categorized. I think
not me. I agree. Right. I agree with you, but I'm referencing other dancers and the others in the battle community. They have to have it divided up in order to understand it. I don't have to have it divided up necessarily, and I know you don't.
What has happened is the dance. When you think about all of the other Black and brown dances that have come about, the dance is called one thing and the music is called something else. So popping, locking is all done to funk and disco. It's not to popping music or locking music. It's funk or disco. You know what I mean? And so that's where the confusion happened for us is the dance that we do and the music that we do are both called the same thing. But there are two totally different histories that go on there. So you have a lot of cross-pollination that's happening that people don't necessarily understand because they're just hearing one title, but then trying to pick from this and pick from that. And that's where this whole situation with OG popped off. I know OG. I know I know Bravo. I know both of them well. I know Bravo more, obviously, than OG.
Yeah.
But I know them both well, and I know they both come from a genuine place wherever they're speaking from.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
I don't ever take anything that they're saying as a malicious way. I just think that, again, that divide and conquer is a real thing within the Black community. Like they try to divide. We spend so much time fighting against each other that we don't have enough time to talk to each other to figure out which way we want to go with this, right? While people from outside the Black and brown community are running rampant, doing whatever they want to do with whatever, however, because they paid for a workshop.
Yeah.
So I took your workshop. I am now qualified to dance, and that's just how this works.
And qualified to teach too as well.
And qualified to teach, qualified to perform, qualified to do whatever. And in their defense, because no one says no, it's a yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just how it is. It's not like they're saying that. It's just because no one's ever said anything, so I just assumed it was okay.
Yeah. You know. Then you touched on 2 times. You said Black and brown, and this is the thing: is it a Black and brown creation? The culture, and I it's tricky because I want to make sure I word it right. That people out there because your others, it's just tough.
Why is it tricky? It's not tricky.
I just want to go ahead and get it out. Yeah, I want to get it out. Is it a Black and brown creation? Is the culture that we are practicing? Is it a Black and brown creation?
Let's talk about this right now that we're going through. Why is that so difficult? Why can we not say Black and brown?
Because if
Why
you
is
say
that
black,
so
if you
different?
say black or brown creation, you are automatically a racist. This is the thing. Some people will automatically think you're a racist. The next thing is you may not be able to go around to tour around, you know, to do the workshops. If you take a stance to say, well, this is a black and brown creation, then there's always somebody that says, well, see, look at them, they're racist.
I don't understand how that could be racist when it's fact. It's like the Japanese created sushi. It's Japanese. It's a Japanese thing. It belongs to the Japanese. They created it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this culture that came out of the Black and brown American community that has now gone out into the world, it still was created by Black and brown individuals. So I'm not understanding why that is such a big thing. Why is that so hard to say? Why can we not say that? Because we are supposed to not have ownership of anything that we create.
Yeah.
Right? That's what that is. Now, that has absolutely nothing. Well, it has a lot to do with this conversation, but that's one of the huge problems within our community is because we're so quick to come up with things and move on to the next thing that we don't necessarily grasp the intent that it has on the rest of the world. Because by the time the world gets it, like by the time the world caught on to breaking, we were already done breaking.
Done with it. Yeah. That's right. You're right.
By the time the world caught on to hip hop, we were already done with hip hop, moving into house. By the time they got the house, we were already done with house, moving into crump. By the time they got the crump, we were done with crump, going into light feet. Like
and it's still gradually moving, and it hasn't stopped. Is it okay to take ownership of it?
Why not? Culture? Why can we not take ownership? Is the question. Like why is that such? I need to know why. Are you saying that white people created this? Is that what is being said? Because that is not a fact.
And my whole thing is, okay, if that be a fact, then you need to get Johnny Whitrow from Nevada to come over here and teach a workshop. But there's no such an animal. You know what I mean? It's no such a person. And this is the thing, man.
The thing that
now today you could probably find that. You could find it today, but we're just talking about if you want to say the origins of New York City dancing. Right. We're just gonna go, whatever. New York City dancing right now.
Here's where it gets tricky because we created it. Yes, this is our creation. We created it. But in order for it to get out into the world, we had to have assistance from white people because the white people run the world. Like you can't do anything without including someone white. You cannot. It's just not possible. That whole black dollar doesn't exist for us as it does for white. You know what I mean? It doesn't hold the same weight that it does for us. So we have to go to the white publishing houses because the black publishing houses don't have the same weight. So now we're talking about this comment that was made about club is a this. Let me get it right.
Yeah, let me find the text. I'll reread the text to you. Let's see if I'll grab it again.
I got it. I got it up. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool.
Let me make sure I say it exactly how it was written because I don't want to misquote my man. Shout out to my man OG. Shout out to Bravo. Love.
Definitely. And I think they're thinking I'm trying to knock them or something like that, but I'm actually not. I'm having fun with this. It's not so serious for me. And this is for OG and Bravo out there too. It's not that, but you can't just say crazy stuff and nobody says nothing. Sometimes somebody's gonna say something. But anyway, go ahead.
So here's what OG wrote, and I'm going to read it word for word. Fact, semicolon, house is a club dance. It is not a black creation, and it did not come from one race. It has nothing to do with race. So stop making these straw man arguments about respecting who created it. You are part of it, but it's not yours. Okay, now that is very, very deep because there are a lot of documentaries that have come out, right? And obviously in these documentaries, you see people at these parties and they're from every race, creed, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about what these parties were for, right? So you have these segregated laws that allow for white people to dance here and black people to dance here. And then you have these speak-easy parties that are going on that allow for a commingling, if you would
say it again. Say that again, so that people will understand. What you call it? The name is called a
speak-easy.
Okay.
And shout out to my man Brooklyn Terry. He is actually doing a event in Tokyo called Speak Easy for that reason. The Speak Easy was a place where people could commingle, meaning the whites could come and the blacks could come and so on and so forth. That is the start of club culture, right? Now, you fast track that to Chicago and the warehouse, and the music that was being played there is called house. Were there only black people in this place? No, but the music that was being played was most definitely black. The building itself may not have been black. It may not have been owned by a black person, but the music that was being played, hence the culture and the heritage, was black. The people that were dancing to it were from everywhere, just like now, but it still belongs to the black culture. That is the music, right? That trends, Larry Levan takes that and brings that to New York. The Loft is going on, Paradise Garage is going on. Again, they are playing predominantly black music, but there are white artists in there that are being played as well, right? Again, buildings filled with people from everywhere, but predominantly black music. Predominantly black people are going to these clubs, right? Again, there is no name called house. People are just going and moving their body, jacking your body, if you will, right? Again, jack was just a term for move. It wasn't a groove yet for house. We didn't, that was just something that was said, a slang word that we used, and then it went into the music, just like all the other slang words that we use that go into music now, right?
But I think hold on. But I think for Chicago, the actual jack was it was jack before it got to New York. New York, well, New Jersey and New York. But the jack is the name first, but the groove itself did come afterwards, and it was a certain movement that you could do at a club.
Okay, so
that hip
that jack that they were doing
sensation.
That jack that they were doing in Chicago. And you can talk to the Chicago dancers, which I have. It wasn't like house, like everyone knows house now. It was
for
something that you would do on the dance floor. You know what I mean? Yeah. An action that was more closer to copulation or trying to get with somebody on the dance floor than dance steps. Right?
Yes, correct.
Which is part of the black culture. That is something that definitely comes out from the black culture, because European dance, you do not gyrate on the dance floor ever. That is definitely something that came from us. Anyway, fast track that, we get to here to New York. You have this thing that is going on in the New York club scene where a lot of the hip hop clubs were, how can I say, sketchy, to say the least. For everybody, people going to the club, people performing at the club, and people were just wanting different places to go to. So you have this hip hop crowd now that is now mixing with this older clubbing crowd. And that meld made house music, house dance.
House dancing, yeah.
That is what made house dance, right? So we're in there, we got our hip hop thing going on. We're doing all of these, trying to do all these hip hop moves, and you have Bravo and Archie and them doing all of the things that they were doing, and that meld is what made house dance. Now, there are phenomenal things happening at this party. People are talking about it. Oh, I went to this party and they're playing this house music And therefore, I saw this dancing that was going on there, and it is now called house. Because if you've ever heard people from outside of our culture try to describe things, they describe it as what they see visually.
Yeah.
On the flyer, it says
House.
Paradise Garage House Party,
Yeah.
right?
House party.
We're thinking in our mind like a house party, like the building a house, like, you know, we all in a basement type house party, right? But outside of our culture, it must be the name, the type of music it is, and the type of dance that it is. So now this all falls under this category, right? So you have Bravo, who comes from that original feel of clubbing, where people are going and being themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So for him, he doesn't see clubbing as an ownership for anyone. It's somewhere where everyone can go, and that is completely valid. The underlying creation of that club is still Black and brown, but anyone can go to it, right? Now this clubbing that he is used to being known as clubbing is now being called house, right? And now you have the clubbing that we're going to, and then now the dance that we're doing is also being called house, right? The dance that we were doing that was not being done before is now being called house, and people want that. That becomes known. No one asked us, they just wanted us to teach that.
Yeah.
No one came to us and said, yo, what you want to call this? How does this, you know what I mean? It was just like, can you show me that step that you was in my original club mind? If you walked up to me 88, 87, 86 and said, yo, can you teach me any step? I would have laughed. This is just something that we did.
Yeah.
This is a step that's being done. And then the onslaught, and you're seeing people now mirroring Mouche, mirroring Joey, mirroring Khalif, mirroring Ejo, and you're like, how are they looking to the clubs, and they're taking videos of us dancing in the club, and they're going back home, and they are. So there is no cultural context behind it. None of the things that I said. Track that now, almost 40 years going on, and they're just good movers, feel like because they move well, they not to.
Yeah. Check your internet connection. Check your internet connection. Maybe it's something you might got a cloud somewhere. Everything good on your end? Your bars are high?
Everything is good on my end.
Okay. Go ahead. All right, keep going.
Yeah. So and again, it's, I don't think it's a we think we created, or we are the owners of house dance. What we're saying is Black and brown community are the creators of this dance. It is you cannot put down the fact that there are dancers who have gone out into this world and spread this dance around the world. That is something that's just factual. It wasn't just coming to New York. It was people going outside of New York and teaching this dance as well. So you can't negate that either.
Yeah.
And when it gets to a point where people who have been doing this dance for X amount of years now cannot get work because somebody who just learned the dance yesterday is teaching in their hometown when they do not know any of this history, it negates the entire thing. It's like you like sushi, you never studied sushi a day in your life, and you open a sushi restaurant.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's kind
You
of,
know what I mean? There's a culture behind it.
but then the whole thing is also to play a little devil's advocate, I guess. I'm over here in Germany. You know,
Right.
I've never been in the culture. Uh,
Right.
I've took 100 workshops already. As far as I'm concerned, I'm an expert. You know,
Right.
I'm the new sheriff in town. I'm here to correct
Right.
everything. If this has anything to do with house, I'm the man. I'm the it guy you need to see over
Okay.
here in this particular country. Now, I find somebody who's you know what I mean, who I really gravitate with their message. Maybe the message is good, maybe it's a
Okay.
little bit off, but then I stick particularly on that particular person's message, and
Right.
I get narrow minded or tunnel or narrow vision with this particular message. Is it fair to the community that I do this because I have so much knowledge and because you know, me and you could be in the club, and this is something that Tony Gregor brought up. Me and you could be in the club. You could be in one corner, I could be in the other corner, and we see two totally different
Two
freaking
totally
things,
different parties.
right?
Two completely different parties.
Right. So I take I get this knowledge from this guy, you know, and I just go with that one vision, and that's what I'm going to teach. That one vision. It's. Do you think it's fair to the community that is learning, that's coming up now, the ones who don't know so much about the culture, who don't
I
really
mean,
understand the culture? I mean, it's
it,
always going to be done. It's not to say we can control anything that's being done. We cannot do that. I'm not saying that. It's just out here, just the conversation to put out here. Is it fair to have one way on how to look at things?
I mean, that is not for anyone to say. That is up to individuals. I know as a student,
Yeah.
you always want to get as many different perspectives as possible so you can get the full story. So I don't necessarily think that it's fair or not fair. Everybody's going to have their own
Way on how they do
standpoint and
things.
views
Yeah.
depending on how they saw the party. But you as a student, you need to get to a point in your learning where you have to ask for different perspectives so you can start to gain some lived experience through this as yourself. So you're not just spitting out different factual stuff that you read or that you heard. You know what I mean? You need to have some sort of lived experience with this. As a teacher in this and as a studio owner in this, I completely understand the business aspect of this. But one thing that I learned after I opened my studio was there are a lot of things that no one has ever asked the people that have created this how they wanted to get done. Instead, they've divided and conquered us. They've divided us into commercial versus underground. I have never not liked choreography. I have never not, I mean, we called them routines. We didn't call it choreography. It was routines. That's like, oh, they're doing a routine, and that was that. But I've never not liked it. All of a sudden now, because I go to the club, I'm an underground dancer, and I don't do this or that. And because he does this and this and that, he doesn't come to the club, and this divide and conquer thing has been going on. Whereas, as far as I can remember, all the videos that I watched were people who were at the club.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I definitely agree with you. I think it's a divide. You know, I think classical trained dancers, a lot of dancers who do go to, you know, particular kind of schools, how they view street dance, even still to today, even though we may think that this is such a big thing that we may be doing, or young guys participating in, there's still another whole dance culture that we haven't even got a chance to really, their whole politics and everything about them is so totally wow. It's like when you see street dancers in New York and they're inventing some new stuff, I actually seen comments underneath the pages where like, yeah, but they were missing. They weren't on time. I said, and I'm looking, their timing wasn't right or something like that. I'm like, yo, did you just see what they just did? And you worried about timing? There's some beats you can't hear, and as far as my eyes see it, they hit it. I can go back and rewind it 3 times. I see no flaw where a classically trained dancer can go back or choreographer. Oh yeah, they were off on their timing, their 4 count or the 8 count. It just wasn't working. I'm like, yo, what? It's just amazing.
I mean, I am not one for telling people how to dance because dance is subjective. Like, you know, it's a subjective thing.
Yeah.
Some people like certain things and some people like other things, right? And this is, again, goes back to the whole battle and competition stuff. I'm gonna give a good example of this. I was in a battle called The Game, which was one of the first international battles that I was in outside of New York, right? Just to give you guys a little, like, that, I am in the scene and I have been in the scene for a long time, but I consider myself the insider that was on the outside looking in, because by the time I got to the clubs and stuff, cliques were already made, people were already doing stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I was the guy that everybody knew, but I wasn't like in that revolving circle. So I'm on the outside looking in, but I'm on the inside, you know what I mean? So I get to this battle and the MC comes up to me and is like, okay, it's going to be one move each. That's what he says to me. It's one move each, right? So I go out, I do one move, I come back. The other dancer comes out and he's like going, just like going. I'm like, you said one move each. At this time, I did not know that internationally, one move means one turn, one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these are things, again, no one ever asked us, nobody ever asked, how do you want to do a dance? Because in New York, normally they're just like, go ahead, dance, and we'll let you know when your time is done. And that's it. It's not like a move or two moves or three moves or five moves or anything like that. It's just your turn, you go. And then when you're done, he goes. But the guy can, again, these are lessons that you learn. So no one has ever asked us how we think a battle should go. Because to be totally honest with you, a house battle per se should be a conversation. Like it should always start with a start. Like I feel like that's that's how you get that feel of where this is going to go from the jump. Like starting dry like that just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work in a house setting. Like when I dance with people at the club, I never just attack them like that. Like it's a feel that we have to have a connection that we need to have first before we can go into that. None of these things are ever talked about, but outside of the world that created this, they all know these things. So now they feel like these are the way things should be. And then when we say stuff about it, it's a problem. It is a huge problem.
I mean,
you're
stopping.
Like,
like you're putting a monkey wrench in there. Whatever they have going on, is you're stopping their. It's the same thing. You're stopping their fun. And I think I feel the same way too. Sometimes with the older heads, you know, they're stopping my fun. So I kind of get it too. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm doing something, and someone says something like, "Okay, well, you're stopping my fun." You know, in a way. We dance a lot in the clubs. We did hear the older generation. We were dancing around a lot of the older generation too, and they did have stuff to say about the. You know, I've heard a lot of stuff. They had a lot to say, and people act
like us.
Yeah, I know.
Like
I heard it.
Not like us.
No, I mean, I really like. I'm not even joking. I actually heard it.
Like,
so it's not like something I'm making up. Yeah. And if people think we're making it up, the older generation they didn't like when Ijo went over to Japan. And I heard him talking. I'm like, oh, why are y'all into this guy's business like that? If he goes over to Japan, that's great. He's spreading the culture.
Before even that, they didn't like the feel that we brought into the club.
Yeah.
You got to keep in mind, we're coming from a hip hop. Like, like, you know what I mean? And that's not house.
It was interrupting their fun, as far as they were concerned. Their eyeballs.
That was not house. Yeah. So now we on dance floors trying to make circles on the dance floor. You remember what that was like? The bouncers would come up to us and be like, "You can't do that here."
You had to find places that we could do that there.
Yeah, you know,
it's crazy, man.
We had to be in front of the bathroom door on carpet. You remember? Like, it wasn't like
you can't go all over doing house dancing. You can't go all over house dancing.
Yeah, you can't go all everywhere and just be having circles like they have now. Not at all. In some places, they would look at you and wouldn't even let you in. They'd be like, "Nah, you can't come in here with that book bag."
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't come in here with that. You can't come in
Yeah.
here with this. You can't with they don't know how fortunate they have it. They get to wear sweatpants to the club. We did that.
Yeah.
If you can recall, Vaughn, when we were going to the Zeke, we could not show up with no sneakers on. We
Yeah.
couldn't show up with no jeans on.
Nah. Well, you had to have a certain look. I had
You
to have
had
a
to have a
certain look.
certain look, and
Definitely, if you
you
had a
could
pair of sneakers on, you better have a look.
you had to have a look, but the person at the door needed to know who you were.
Yeah,
For that look
Anthony.
to
You
work.
remember Anthony was at the
Yes.
door.
Yes.
Quest even was at the door a few times over there.
So
Rude
if
Boy
you
Echo.
didn't get
Yeah.
into a certain, he'd be like, nah, he wanted the dancers. All right, cool. And he got
Yeah.
in. Yes.
Yeah.
You had to have that, it was like, Wooly Ninja would walk up, man, Sound Factory Bar was like, yo, you may or may not get in. It depends on how Wooly feels on that night. He know you and all, be like, nah, I'm not feeling it tonight. You be sitting on that line for hours if you wanted to.
Yeah, you're right about that.
You know what I mean? So they don't know how fortunate they have it now. And these are all the things that when we speak to them about, they don't realize that these are cultural things that play a huge part in the dance that they do.
Yeah, but they're also looking for culture. This is the thing. I don't find it, like I said, I don't find it upsetting so much when they do get some information and be like, yo, I got it. This is it. And they put it out. And then maybe, yeah, that's it, but it's not all of it, but you do got something there. And my thing is, how do you really feel about the battles? Are they going to be able to bring, do you think the culture will come? We know we have Yuxin said, no battles, no house in Europe. We got it. Do you think the culture will be able to seep in? Because now it's not a race to see if I'm going to be the best dancer in the battle. Now it is kind of a race to see if I got the most knowledge, the most culture. You know what I'm saying?
I can't really speak for Europe that much, only because they have their own governing sect now.
Yeah.
And as much as I could say something or we could say something, and even though they all pay homage to us because I remember when Yuxin and Mamsun was coming every single summer to New York to dance specifically with
I don't
me.
remember, but
this is personal here.
Yeah, personal.
This is personal. Like I would dance with them every single summer that they came here. So I mean, I've known them now their entire house dance career. Like I've known
they give
them
it up. They give up. They give up a lot of respect. Yeah.
And they always, you know what I mean? And they have the knowledge and they've lived the experiences. And I've gone to clubs with them in France, and I've gone to clubs with them here. And I know for a fact that they have an understanding of what this is. So I can't really speak to what's going to happen to the scene in France. I can speak to what's going to happen to the scene on a worldwide level if we, meaning the Black and brown people of New York, don't get to a place where we start to guide these people. Because right now, if you've got this elder fighting with this one, then we can't be talking to each other to guide these people in the direction that they need to go. Then that divide and conquer again is hindering the progress of this. And so then what happens is now you're going to have somebody who's going to take a loose legs or a shuffle or whatever and just do that step and do it well enough to win some sort of competition and then say, this is now my style.
Well, good point. Because, the online YouTube dance community, not the ones that go to the battles. I'm just referencing the ones that are on YouTube. There's a guy, he invited somebody out. I really don't want to get too much into the names, who it was, but I'll send you the link later on afterward. But he invited, and just an example of what you were saying. He invited somebody out who's a winner of a lot of battles. I've never seen the guy before. I mean, I'm quite sure the dance community, battle community knows him, but I've never seen him win any battles. Maybe he's on the other side. And he invites him over to demonstrate moves to his community, to his online followers for the YouTube. And one of the dances that the guy he kind of like advertises for is for the loose leg, which is so
Right.
crazy because Khalif is alive today, and
Right.
the guy's like, yo, and he's gonna be doing that new amazing dance, the loose leg, and I'm like, what? Like you don't like, and
Right.
you know, if you've never seen the dance before, you'd be like, yo, if this guy doesn't tell them, I don't know what happened at the class, but if this guy doesn't tell them where it comes from, oh my gosh, it's like a travesty, man.
But you can't
Yeah, and even
give
Joey Anderson
information
said
that you don't
it's
have.
the business. It's
Yeah,
the business.
you can't give information that you don't have. The fact that they even knew the name, I'm surprised by.
Yeah,
To be
I mean, he
honest with
did,
you.
but I'm like, yo, why did you? You know, my whole thing is, I know it's the business. It's like, yo, why didn't the person inviting them out do a little bit more research? That's the thing that gets me, man. They don't. Ah, it's horrible. But you know, that's little gripes that you can have with
Well,
everything. But you know,
here's the thing with again, specifically street dance studios. They're a thing that is brand spanking new. There are no rules governing street dance studios.
Yeah.
So now you have street dance studios that have certificate programs, graduate programs, this, that, and all the third. No one has ever, not once, asked the street dance community, how do you want a street dance studio run? I can speak from experience because I've owned my own studio for 15 years now.
yeah,
And I can tell you the pitfalls of having to be on both sides of that. Okay, now I see why. You have to go by what the people know versus what it actually is. Commercial hip hop is just hip hop. But if you don't put that commercial before it, people won't take the class.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You could very much take a hip hop class and learn all the hip hop fundamentals and still learn choreography in a hip hop class.
Yeah.
And it'd be just as important and just as pertinent as a commercial hip hop class. But if it doesn't have that commercial in front of it, 3 people in class. Commercial in front of it, 300 people in class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I totally get the whole business aspect of it. And the reason why the business aspect of it is that way is because, again, we did not decide that. They're just going off of models based off of the European ballet studios.
The question is, are we in a position enough to decide anything? Or we know we have the culture still. We know we have the culture that's still out here and is going with or without a battle or with or without a YouTube video. We know the culture is alive. Okay, Corona shut it down a little bit, but it's still little pockets still going. But we know we have a solid culture. You know,
we have gotten to the point where we realize that this is our culture and it deserves protecting. Are we in a place where I think we can make a serious impact? Yes. Are we in a place where ownership could be ours? I'm on the fence about that still because
some people are saying, yeah. A lot of people say, yeah, we should take our ownership.
No. I'm not saying that we shouldn't take ownership. Yeah. I'm saying that we should take ownership. We should completely.
Yeah.
But can we have ownership of it?
Some people say, yes, we are able to do it. And I didn't get this from a house dancer. I got this by books, by literature, through writings. But I didn't get it from a house dancer. I got this from a voguer who already has his house on lock. You know, the voguing community is a little different. You know, they got their houses. We don't really so much. We have our crews, but we don't have our houses set up so much. But I got
the communities are all a little bit different and all over the place.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah.
I feel like have a grasp of where this comes from and are on a path of, but ownership is something totally different. Like ownership means that we
then based on the statement that OG says, we really have no ownership of it as a Black and brown community. In that case, then we have to have it equal to everybody have ownership of it, and that's where it gets tricky at too.
The Black and brown community as a whole will always. This is why this systemic stuff is such a big thing right now, because systemically they don't have to do anything. anything in the Black and brown community, they fall silent. It becomes quiet on their end because they know that we are immediately going to go, well, they're not saying anything, so we must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And start questioning everybody else around us. And if it's all brown faces around us, well, you might not be doing this. So now the infighting starts. Right. And the divide and conquer starts. We will sidestep over here and continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then when they stop fighting and notice again and call us out, we'll fall quiet again. Let them start fighting again. So this systemic thing is about us coming together. And again, it's not even like both sides of that story are not valid. Like they're both valid. Like I said, like you said, you could be at one party looking from one side of the dance floor and another side of the dance floor have two totally different views of what's going on. That does not negate your view. That just means that if you're a person standing in the middle, that you can now talk to all the people all around you and try to get this information.
Yeah.
And formulate what was going on in the entire party.
Yeah.
But again, if we do not take ownership of that, if we don't come together and take ownership of it, of course there are going to be people who are going to fight it. And I really don't think race is the issue. Because
I don't think so either.
Right now, there are Black and brown people who have never danced or never listened to hip hop before in their lives.
And got to learn how to do a dance now too. They're taking classes
you know
now.
What I mean? Like, I have people who have come to me and were like,
classes.
Yo, I'm sorry, but my family was just not. They weren't hearing it. I couldn't listen to hip hop or anything until I got to college, and then by the time I got to college, it was already 2007 or 8 or whatever, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't get any of the golden age of hip hop, any 80s, any of that stuff. And now they've graduated. Now that they're out in the world, they realize that there's a part of this culture that they want to be a part of, and now they have to learn all of this stuff.
Yeah,
so it's not even a race. It's not even a race thing right now. It's just an ownership thing. It's like, you guys have to realize where this comes from in order for us to be able to teach this properly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If not, then everybody's just going to come in and be like, well, this is my style, and this is my style, and this is my style, and that's not how this works.
So how do we package?
I don't have my own style.
So how do we also, how are we going to package this up? It's already a package now, but how are we going to put this together? Give me a good idea on how could you put something together to make it where, because we have a very sensitive generation out here right now, to where they feel as though they're welcome and and not unwelcome, and able to be free to learn the culture without have to say, well, okay, I'm European, but does that make me any worse? I have a guy that comes over here. He tells me that this is a Black and brown creation, and that right there alone may somehow hinder my learning experience.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm putting myself in the person's shoes. Okay, he's gonna say Black and brown. Am I able to do it good enough?
They're hearing the words, but they're not understanding exactly what's being said. So this is the Black and brown creation, and this is going to be harder for you. Does that mean that you cannot do it because you're not Black and brown? No. Are there things that you may or may not get because you're not Black and brown? Yes. Just by the very sheer nature of being human, you're supposed to be doing things differently. That's one of the guiding lights and principles of what we do. I'm teaching you this so that you can apply yourself to it, right? But that doesn't negate where this comes from. Just because you apply yourself to it does not now mean it's yours. It means you've learned something that you've applied yourself to, and now you are going to further the culture by teaching people where it came from and how you learned it and how they can apply it to their lives. That's what made this attractive to everyone in the rest of the world, was that they could take this and apply their lives to it and not have to feel like they need to be a certain way, because we're not asking for them to be black or brown. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking for them to understand where this comes from and the feeling and emotion behind motions like this. And I mean, you need to understand this motion. Like, it's not, you just don't do it. You need to understand it. Like, you got people now all of a sudden wanting to clap their hands. You don't understand what that is. You don't understand what that is, and you trying to clap your hands at me. I'm like,
easy.
Nah. You know what I mean? So I mean, one of my good friends, Monsell Durden, Il Cosby for the dance world, said something to me earlier this week, and at first I took it like, I was like, what? He was like, I don't like the term street. And that immediately I was like, what do you mean?
Trigger word, yeah.
And he was like, for me, there's nothing to glorify about the street. The street is a hard pill. And anybody who is from the street will tell you they're trying to get up out the street.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily like the term street because it doesn't speak to the heritage of our people. I agree with that. I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. Because it is the heritage of the people that have created these dances and created this music, not buildings, not clothing, not step. It's the heritage of people. We got put on ships and brought here, right? They tried to disconnect us from our heritage, but we already knew how to braid. We already knew how to cook. These are things that we could not unlearn and we could not do anymore. We still did it.
It was a good thing what Yuxon said. He said it was in our DNA. He even was like, he even referenced the Congo Square in Louisiana. That's why I had a lot of respect for that brother. His knowledge game was on point with that one. So I had to like, okay, you got that. It's good when people do take the time to research this information, that the culture that we have.
So I think they're hearing the message differently, and it may be, again, when they speak to us, they have to understand where we're coming from, how we're giving them knowledge from a source. This is not book learned or watered down. So the message, you have been around your peeps. When you're excited and you're talking to your peeps, the volume that you speak is loud, and it's like, y'all going off because that is within our culture. So if you're getting a message like that from someone and you're not used to it, it comes off as offensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, y'all not doing this right. Y'all got to do it like this. And although the person is telling it to you so that you can understand it, so you could do it the right way, they're just
get
seeing
that
it
flavor.
Yes, they're seeing it as, if I'm not doing it like them, if I don't look like them, which is why everybody started dreading their hair, everybody started braiding their hair, started wearing baggy clothes, because the message that they were seeing was, if I don't look like you, then I won't be able to do this. And the message that we were saying was, we look this way because we were trying to be original, and you need to be original too.
Yeah.
But for them, originality means looking like you.
Yeah. Good segue, man. Urban, because that's the new touchy word. Oh my gosh, don't say urban. Oh, you can say urban. What's the definition of urban? What does it mean?
Again, I think all of these words, street, urban, commercial, underground, above ground, it's all just to not say black and brown. That's how I feel about it. Like, they can use all the words they want to use, because saying black and brown gives us ownership. It means it belongs to us. So saying urban, saying street, saying whatever, that generalizes it. So now you can have X, Y, Z, whoever from wherever is like, yeah, I lived on the street. So I'm street. You know what I mean? That's all it is to me. That's all it is to me. And so because I'm from the street, now I get to say nigga. Yeah, I'm nigga. Nah, bro. No, that's not how this works. And so, you know, you will hear oftentimes the messages sound a bit more abrasive because they're coming from people who have lived this, this culture, and they feel strongly about people the words are not coming to me right now for some reason.
Yeah, you know, you spoke out a lot about, you did speak out about the culture. And
it's not even so much about the culture. I think it's about people just taking from the culture and not giving its due respects. The word is not coming to me right now, and I don't know why.
What would be the due respect? Okay, so what would be the due respect? What do I need to do to respect the culture? What do I need to do? How can I respect the culture?
Are you
from the outside of the culture? Yeah, if I'm from the outside of the culture.
Are you actively supporting the people in this culture? Not you come teach a workshop here so that when you leave, I can now say I'm friends with you, and that puts me in a position of, are you supporting are you making means in which this culture can thrive? Not just so that you can thrive, but that this culture can thrive. Because having a studio in another country does not necessarily help us here in New York. It helps everyone in your country, but it doesn't help the culture itself. Right? So you need to, if you're going to be in this, then you need to find ways in which you can support the culture. I don't necessarily have to bring anyone to my studio. I'm Cebo, but yet every single year I make sure that there is someone from within my culture teaching at my studio.
Yeah.
That they are profiting from teaching at my studio, so that they can continue to build in this culture, so that this culture can continue to grow. And so people can learn from them. Now, some people will be like, well, I bring so-and-so out to teach all the time. That's not the same. It's not the same. Like, you have to support the culture. Like, this whole Black Lives Movement went on. In my words, and I'm going to tell you guys, I should not have seen one brown face saying anything, because we have traveled all over this world. Every single white country there is. This came about and you guys realized what happened. You should have all had something to say. I have had so-and-so come to my studio for so-and-so, and he's not like that. He's not that kind of Black person. Blah, 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 blah. Who was saying that? No one. They were all quiet. Crickets.
Yeah.
Like, they do not know these Black people. Like, these Black people that are being killed are not the Black people that I know. It couldn't be. It's impossible. No. So, I mean, if they really want to be about this culture and they want to support this culture, then support the culture.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Not that difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, for those out there, these are tough conversations. We really got to have them, and that's what we're doing right now. I'm very glad, Cebo, that you're able to have this tough conversation. A lot of people want to avoid them, man. They don't want to talk about these kind of issues right here because it's so touchy, man.
I mean,
one thing, go ahead.
Again, it's touchy because you're talking about passionate people. You're talking about a culture that has been suppressed for centuries now. Like, Black culture has been suppressed. Every time something comes up, it gets taken, it gets done. It just this. Jazz no longer even has a Black image to it. You know what I mean? Rock and roll, country, none of those things have a Black image to it, and it came from us. And probably in the next 5 or 10 years, hip hop won't have a Black image for it either, because you think about it.
House actually doesn't either, but house dancing, because we're so like what Khalif was saying, like we're like so 1% of the freaking population. We're so minute in the grand scheme of the art. house
Right.
dancing. Nobody knows what, I mean, outside of house dancers, outside of the dance community, no one even knows what the freaking house dance is. So,
Yes.
you know
Right.
what I'm saying? They'd be like, yo, you can dance. I didn't know you could dance to that. And you dance like that to it? Okay. There was something also that happened the same time last year that that message that you read earlier about that. There was some issues that popped up in 2019. That was one of them coming from OG that he posted that one. I thought was very interesting. And I asked him, "Did you want to retract that statement?" He said, "No, he's satisfied with it." So I'm satisfied with it. I'm half and half with it. So I know it's half. It
I
could be
think
misconstrued. It could be
I actually
misconstrued, or it could
think
be like, yeah.
I actually think it's a little bit more in depth than what's written. I feel like, and this is,
It was. He
I feel
explained it.
like,
He explained
these
it.
battle situations that come about, people are very unhappy when things don't go their way,
Yeah.
and then they often don't like the answers that they get from the judges when they tell them why they
Okay.
didn't get picked.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes a whole big issue, and then that issue goes into another issue, and that issue goes into another issue. And I think the bottom line of it is, judging house is subjective.
Yeah.
It all depends on again, no one has asked the house community how house should be judged. So you have one judge who's sitting there and who will say to you, I just like the way you feel. Doesn't matter what you're doing, or if you want to be, I just like the way you feel, you win. Whereas you'll have some other house judges who are like, I liked his footwork, I liked his turns, I didn't like his floor work, so he lost.
Yeah.
And then you'll have another one who's like, I loved what he was doing on the floor, but I didn't like his footwork, so he won. You know what I mean? So it's all subjective.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to ask you before, because this is a nice interview right here, man. We're hitting up on past an hour already,
Okay.
which is dope. Nothing wrong, because it's good topic, and I think a lot of people are going to want to listen to this too. So this is very interesting too. Last year, I wanted to recap what I was going to say. Last year, also the blackface happened in Russia, and I guess it was Russia, Ukraine, whatever the heck.
It was
And
definitely Russia.
the thing is, should we ignore it? Should we not say anything about it? Should we? Okay, that's them. They're gonna do some real crazy next stuff, but it has nothing to do with us. Should we not be the police on this? Should we just keep our mouth shut?
I think that was actually the starting point of the culture actually coming together. I'm not happy that happened, obviously, but I'm happy of the outcome of what happened. Someone saw it, brought it to someone else's attention. They brought it to another person's attention, and then overnight, everybody was on a thread together. I'm talking from Rocksteady, Electric Boogaloos, to Dynamic Rockers, Elite Force, Dance Fusion. Like, we were all in this huge, big conversation about how this was going to be handled. Of course, something needs to be said, because you are profiting off of Black culture. Again, saying it again. And when you do things like that, you need to be held responsible. Somebody needs to say to you, as your friends, yo, that's not good. You shouldn't be doing that. The proper response would be, I didn't know that I should be doing that. My apologies. I'll never do it again. Now I know. Less than a week later, they're back on it again.
Do you know whatever happened to that house that did that? I mean, that studio that did that? Was there a follow-up? Were they informed? Were we just pissed off and that was it? What was
what actually happened was, there was a letter written to them from the street dance community, street and club dance community. An actual letter was written, penned, sent to them about what would be tolerated, what would not be tolerated, and what would happen if things did not rectify themselves. And so people canceled gigs in Russia. People actually said no to things. It was like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Right. And then what actually ended up happening was, other people in Russia, which is what should have happened, other people in Russia then got to them and was like, this is why you were wrong.
Right.
And this is why you need to fix this, because you're now affecting all of us by you doing this. And that's why it's so important that we have to say something, because even though we can't do anything because they're in Russia, if we can get our people who are on our allies who are in those countries to speak up about this, this is why this Black Lives Matter hurts so much, because people were like, this is enough, and no one was saying anything. Like, I'm looking at my feed, and all of these dancers that I know me personally, were not saying anything. And I took that hard, Lauren. I'm not even gonna front on you. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to see nobody dance nothing on my page. Like,
You guys are all banned.
Yo, for real, because it hurt. Like, yo,
Yeah,
you don't know me.
I mean, but you know, you got the other thing is, see, but what were you expecting? You know, you may have had a bigger expectation to something that was not in, you know, is not in the reality. Reality is,
you're right. The reality of things.
I like you. I mean, I like the culture, but I don't necessarily like you.
Right. And it's not even that. It's, I like you and I like this culture, but I don't necessarily like the people in this culture.
Bang, bang.
Right. So,
right. Don't worry. Right now, I'm the oldest house dancer in Germany. But I think I'm the most hated right now at this point in time. So I understand.
What I say is, all right, so imagine if you would have never met me. This is my conversation to my people. Like, imagine what your life would be like if you had not met me. And that's when it clicked for them. All the things that they saw didn't click to them because they did that person they don't know. They don't relate to that person. They don't understand that person. And I'm like, these are people. This is what makes this culture. These people, not individual, the people make this culture. I didn't make this on my own. And that's the thing. Like, people are, they're clung to one person. Like, this is my token Black guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's okay, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as it is, you have a lot of Black people who are surrounded by a lot of white people that feel like
I'm okay. I'm safe enough. Yeah, I'm safe enough. I don't need to speak up about anything.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes.
And let's go. Yeah.
Yes. And because obviously they have business and they have this and they have that. And if they speak up, then they can't eat and this and that. And so again, you have that divide and conquer happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, it all comes back down to, we have to take ownership for our things. And if we do not take ownership for it, that's where it's going to lie. So is Bravo right? Yes. Is Tony McGregor right? Yes. Because they went out into this world and taught the world house dance. But
that's right.
In the loft, there were all kinds of different people doing this dance, and they weren't thinking about house because house wasn't what it was being called.
It wasn't there, didn't exist, nor did they think about it. You know, it's not that I don't know so much the history of lofting, which I can't say. I'm no expert. Please believe that. Never been to the loft, not old enough to be in the loft. And
here's the thing about it. Like, it's actually done in homage of the loft. Like, we call the floor stuff lofting because that's what we saw them doing when we went to the club. Like, we saw these old heads from the loft sliding all across the floor. That's what we saw.
Thank you, man. I'm trying, man. You know,
that's what we saw. So
hard to have people explain. You know, I'm over here. You know, when I'm in Germany, I'm over here, right? And I'm giving the best that I can do over here to explain and to teach. You know, and it's not. I did like 2 years. I didn't get paid any money to teach house. I got like maybe 200 euro for 2 years of teaching house, and not just the dance, but the actual just talking about it, the experience. And then when I got the loft part of it, and I wanted to make sure, because I tell everybody straight up, listen, I've never been to the loft.
Right.
I'm you know, I don't know anything about the loft. I know, well, you know, I know something about the loft. I only know what they passed down to us from dance generation to dance generation. I got the baby powder here. The DJ is David Mancusa. Here's the music that we listen to. You guys gotta feel it. And it's a freestyle. We dance to the whole song, and you kind of gotta feel it. That's the best I can do. And everything else is up to you. You can look at me, see what I do, and how the music moves me, and you try to do the same thing. That's it. I can do no more, no less. I can't tell you who's the baddest dancer in the loft or this and this and that. I can just give you what I've got picked up through generations and going to loft revivals and dealing with loft heads that were inside the clubs that we were in. So and that's all I can pass on. Only what I know. That's it.
It was a homage to that. Now, again, what Bravo says, and I've spoken to him on many occasions about it, it's not a dance style for them. And he's right. It's not a dance style.
Yeah, and I agree.
It is not a dance style for them. It's a place that they went to party. It's not a dance style. And everybody
but the problem with Cebo is then you have Storenzo, and then you have other loft dancers out there, and then you got my man, what's his name? Actually, it's true that they didn't name it. That part I got, and everyone, I agree with that 100%. But Stephen Miwa, even him, I agree with that they didn't have a name for it. And I 100% agree with it. I agree with his freestyle. I never ever could argue with any one of them about that.
Right.
My whole thing was, okay, if we say freestyle, it's no problem. We'll say freestyle. But as far as I'm concerned, we got some new generation dancers coming in. They got the baby powder is here. The next battle generation, they know about the baby powder. Right. But my whole thing is they won't know where that came from. They're going to think it just came from us, the house dancers. So you guys get lost in the sauce. It's okay with me.
Again,
you know what I mean? Fine with me. If that's where you want to be with it, fine.
I think a lot of this is just, again, how the message is being relayed.
Yeah.
Because when I teach it, there's no confusion. People are not that my method is the best method or anything like that, but I've had Bravo come into my class. And I called the class Lofting, and I explained to them why the class was called Lofting and what we were going to do in the class. And he came in and he walked them through stuff. And exactly what you said, it was baby powder on the floor, and we felt each other out, and we, you know what I mean? And that was the feel that we were going for. So you can understand. Now, apply that feel to this dive that you're doing on the floor and understand how you're going to feel when you're doing these dives on the floor, as opposed to just doing a dive just to do a dive, as opposed to just doing back kick ups just to do back kick up. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's why we call it lofting, to pay homage to this lineage that exists.
That's my whole stance on it. If I say lofting, if I say, hey, that was my whole stance on it, paying homage to those people. But when someone says, and I guess the thing, I guess me and Bravo, I don't think we'll have I hope maybe in the future we'll have a conversation, but I don't think so, because I trolled him too much, and he's not happy the way I approached him and his situation, and I wasn't really happy with everything that he had said in our conversation. So at the end of the day, it came out to, I agree with probably 99% of what he says. 10% I don't agree with is that you cannot say the loft. It's, come on, man. It's like you gotta have a break with that, or you're the only one that can do it. And it's more than one opinion on how the loft is done, and I mean about loft. You got Storenzo. I just got finished interviewing another old girl, Violetta, who put the Weibo. She's the only one I could find out who talked about Weibo and the connection with lofting and stuff like that. So there's people out there who are teaching, and she teaches all styles. So it's like, okay, we got to take not just Bravo, because I love him to death, and he probably think I don't, and I respect him, but I'm going to troll him if he's acting crazy. He's like my grandpa, so I'm going to be like, yo, grandpa, don't touch the computer. But it's a thing where some people are out there teaching it. So we got two different ways, and I don't think people should be just pigeonholed into saying, okay, well, this is it, and that's all. You know what I mean? I think there should be different ways on how to approach it. I asked Lorenzo, do you teach lofting? I asked him straight up. He says, yeah, I teach lofting. So, I mean, what you want me to do? Say, nah, can't say the word? It's like impossibility, man. So it's whatever, man.
I mean,
I don't want to get too much into that, because that's a whole nother, that's something else that's between, I know the community is talking about it, which is good. It's good. It's good. And maybe we can sit down again, you know, and maybe the community itself can hatch it out with the older dancers. Got a lot of support from the older dancers too, man. So it's not just I'm just going off the fly and just being a jerk about everything. I got a lot of support, and I'm trying to get as much information as possible. So it's not something economically, I don't want anything out of it. You know what I mean? I just want to be able to share it with everybody, and it should be shared with everybody. As
the information is there. I think if people want to get the information, they will. Obviously, like I said, you know, some people are stuck on their sources, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing we could do about that. But this culture belongs to a community of people, not just individuals. So if you are teaching this and you're teaching this from an individual standpoint, then you in doing that are taking yourself out of the community. Like, we all teach from a community standpoint, which is why we have these conversations to try and get everybody into this community and understand what this community is about.
Yo, I want to thank you, man, Cebo, for having it's a tough conversation that we had, and I would have loved to talk something different, but I think you were ready and up to the challenge to talk about some certain kind of issues. Right. So we can't just do this one time. I'm looking forward to talking to you again, and then we get a little bit more into you. So sometime in the future, I'd like to hit you up again, and we have maybe a different kind of conversation.
Without a doubt. I'm down to talk. Hit me up, and
so
we'll get it in there.
But and people out there, this is not going to solve your problems in life. So this conversation we had, not going to solve your problems, and it's not the end all be all. We're just giving you a little addition onto what we think about some of the issues that are in the dark that we're all talking about, but it doesn't come out to the light all the time. And like I said, I'm very happy Cebo was here to open up a little bit about some things that are kind of like real touchy subjects. Do you want to give a shout out to anybody, man?
I want to shout you out first, Born, for having me, of course.
Thank you, man.
Shout out to everybody mentioned: Bravo, Senzo, OG, Yugson, Bobson, Serial Steppers.
Serial Steppers.
Everybody. We have all had our differences as individuals. I think we're all moving towards the same goal. Is just to get everybody to understand where this comes from and the feeling and the understanding of it as Black and brown people in this world, because the struggle has been real, and to not take ownership of this would not help anyone on a whole. It's just going to die. So we have to take ownership in order for it to continue to perpetuate. So if you're out there,
it's not that nobody else can participate in this. It's just, and this is so important, man. And when Cebo's saying what he's saying, and you get on his feet and you read it, and don't get butthurt about it, man. It helps you out too as well, man. It really does, everyone out there. It really does. And it's not just a thing where we don't have intention on sharing it. Most important, we would love to have shared everything that we've done with every.
We have done nothing but share everything that we've done.
Yeah, I mean, we just want some credit, man.
He's in Germany right now. He doesn't have to be in Germany. He could be right here. He's in Germany. He doesn't have to teach. He doesn't even have to have these conversations.
Nah, don't really.
Just be like, I'm good.
And I'm enjoying it too. And it's no economic. It's not. My life is not based on my economics is not based on whether or not I have a conversation with people on house, or whether I house dance, or whether I teach a class or anything. And I know a lot of people are, and I respect everyone who does this full time. I'm not full time, but I full time love of the culture. And this is something that I'm full time in love with this culture. So I'm not looking for economic gain when I do this, or my name got to be so big and like. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in making sure everybody out here get this knowledge and get what you need, man, to help you out, maybe help you do something in life or in your dance life, and give you a little bit of culture. So thanks, Cebo, man.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, we'll kick it again, man. And stay safe. Keep them safe. Hey, yo, what the heck, Ejo? Yo, tell Ejo I said, what's up, man?
I'll let him. He's probably on the phone right now.
Yeah, and that guy funny, man. Cause he on Instagram, man. He crazy dude, man. Crazy dude, man.
That's E. What you gonna do?
Holla, man. Peace.
All right, y'all. Y'all be safe. Deuce.